The nation got spared, but California is about to be unburdened by what has been.
See what can be, unburdened by what has been.
Be unburdened by what has been.
Unburdened by what has been.
Unburdened by what has been.
The Hill's reporting that Kamala Harris is leaning towards running for California governor, ready to serve up her signature word salad all over the Golden State. Speaking of losers, the ladies of The View are coming to grips with how Sunny cost Kamala the election.
Sunny ruined it. It's Sunny's fault she didn't win.
Sunny, we can't ignore the fact that you may have single-handedly taken down the Democratic Party. Some would say democracy itself. With one question.
I knew it instantly when she answered it, which is why I asked a follow-up question. Yeah. Is there one thing? You know, because I knew, I could see the soundbite and I knew what was going to happen. But I thought it was a really fair question, and I thought it was a question that she would expect.
It wasn't a gotcha question.
By any means.
It shouldn't have been a gotcha question.
How will Kamala do running for governor of California?
Well, I think it's very arrogant of her to think that she can spend all this time waiting to make a decision, and then once she does, it's going to clear the field. I think that Democrats have a really bad taste in their mouth about her overall, but especially in California. One of the cabinet members in the Biden administration, part of the cover-up, Javier Becerra, who was also like in witness protection programs. Anyone remember things during the Biden administration? They didn't even have cabinet meetings. They hardly did anything there. He's already declared that he's going to be a candidate. So it's going to be a big race. And I don't think that somebody who speaks like she does not like to make decisions, does not like to get prepped, has to do practice cocktail hours in order to get ready to do an event. And then you think about her going to do interviews. How is she going to answer the Biden cover-up questions?
She's never answered.
Right.
She has never answered for that, has she?
No, she has not. And everyone, as the California resident on the panel today, I will say this. First of all, she couldn't even pass the California bar. So how does she expect to be governor? And I say that because I did pass the bar on the first try, unlike her. Every chance I get, I like to rub that in. So here's the key. A well-placed source, essentially, close to her, says she has a lot of people in her ear telling her it makes the most sense and she can do the most good. That's the point. It's her inner close circle that is telling her that's a good idea, because clearly the American people gave her the message, went to the lowest approval rating in vice presidential history at 34.8%. And the biggest message was when you didn't win the presidential election. So she's going back to the briar patch, because if there is any pool of people who would actually think she would do good, it would be California. But the thoughtful California voter, the people who were from there, know that she was the #1 recipient of tech lobbying money. She talks a big game about victims' rights, but she actually burned a lot of bridges with that group because of her being in bed with tech and the like. And she talked that big game about being, the prosecutor and the attorney general, but all of the law enforcement feel a whole hot heck of a lot different than anything that she's put forth. So at the end of the day, I think, I'll say this final point. She shares a donor class and a donor pool with Gavin Newsom. And up until now, they've done this frenemies dance quite successfully. You run for this and I'll run for this. And if he's eyeing 2028 presidential, that means she thinks all she can do is the governor of California, but she will be handed a loss if someone shrewd enough, Becerra, a former LA mayor, anyone is a better candidate marginally, she will fail utterly. And then she'll go away.
Do you think she risks losing the governorship of California, Harold?
Maybe. I think everyone has a right to run whatever they want to run for. She did not run a particularly good race for president both times. And she has, however, run really, really good races when she runs in California. So maybe that's something on her mind. This is also a tradition in politics, and certainly in California. Richard Nixon, who obviously is a Republican, lost the race for presidency in 1960 to then Senator Kennedy, lost the governor's race in California in 1962, and then came back and won the presidency in 1968. President H.W. Bush, one of my heroes in politics, ran in 1980. He didn't win. Ronald Reagan put him as vice president. He came back and ran in 88 and won. So this is something that happens. But I think what you all are really getting at, and what I wonder is two things. Why do you want to run? What is it that you think you can offer to the people of California over the next 4 years, over the next 6 years, whenever the race is, different from Antonio Villarosa and others that may be running, and even Republicans, that's going to make the lives of Californians better?
Well, she wants to run because
but
she's a
let me finish my point.
Republican.
I also hope on a different note, but similar, one of the reasons we don't get and this is not a comment about her, but one of the reasons it's so hard to get the best qualified and the most able people to run for politics is because of all the attacks and vitriol around politics. I hope some of that decreases, and I hope as we address her and her deficiencies, that we address her deficiencies as a candidate and what she chooses to offer. And I hope that on both sides, the personal leveling of attacks gets to a minimum, because we in this country, if there's a thing we need most now in politics, it's the best people running for office.
I mean, to answer your question, and I say that as a joke, and you're in the middle of something serious, so now I almost feel bad. Why does she want to run? All she's ever offered is her identity. So the attacks circle around her obsession with her identity. It's hard to get to policy when you answer the question, what would you do different than your boss? And she says, I can't think of anything. They buried the lead. We buried the lead in this discussion. What makes her a horrible candidate for any political office? She was the vice president of a president whose entire policy agenda, in hindsight, is not popular whatsoever with the American people, no matter where you are. I mean, there's a fringe maybe, but the majority of Americans look back and say the border, our security, our economy, so many things, not doing anything about the price of fuel, things that people can really consume and understand. The policies of the Biden administration look really bad to the American people. And we can talk about cause and effect and why that is, understand. But they look really bad. And when you want to run for office, and you say, no, I was a part of all those decisions and I like them, you either don't have any policy ideas yourself or you don't understand why those are unpopular. California may be the only place she can run for office and win. Yeah. And maybe they get what they deserve if she does and becomes their governor. And I don't mean that to be mean. If that's what they want, that's what they get.
People in California probably feel that way about other states as well. But my only point is she has to have a reason and substance. And if she doesn't, she's going to suffer the fate that your comments suggest.
It's all the rational people left. They all went to Texas and Florida and the like. So what's left in California is exactly those people who vote with identity
They're
politics.
not all rational, though.
And
some of them just want a
family.
tax break.
It's also the greatest innovation center in the world, too, California. There's no...
All right. Thank you for unburdening us, Harold. Up next, forget El Salvador. America's bad hombres are about to face off against the deadly beasts that surround Alligator Alcatraz. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.